cap shit. That's what cap shit gets you to.
You arrest me after the you're embarrassing. You don't even believe this. You are. That's why your ass in here. No, because I'm literally making a statement. You're evident. Let them niggas think you my PO. Yeah, that's my way to get out of shit. Come on now, you fucking it up. You talk too much. I told you. Oh, that's reverse psychology.
You try to use Don't try to Diddy her, bro. Try to coerce her.
I'm not gonna lie, call her people think I know they can be the court.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna see you try with Diddy, man.
Wait, you said what?
I'm sitting here in New York.
That's crazy work, bro. You the only nigga who went to this party. Both of y'all niggas went to this party. And I heard that you disappeared for Lee for a little minute. I got pictures of you being there.
It's a mount. Yeah, I was at Diddy party. Nigga, what the fuck? I'm not denying it.
Damn, y'all, we got a victim. I personally know a victim. We need to send you to New York.
Listen, go on, just you gotta understand, right?
Go testify.
Do you understand? We went to something that no one else would be ever to go to. Think about it.
Especially not no more.
Huh?
Especially not no more.
That's the point, you bozo.
So you happy that you got touched?
Yeah.
You happy that your son's fag? Shay.
Crazy.
Wow.
And I'm not gonna lie, we stayed after hours and nothing happened. So I'm confused.
So Diddy didn't want you.
He wasn't involved in the freak off. I did. Hold on, so that's done. Yeah, I paid that down. This is zero balance on it. So I'm sending a screenshot that way she can see it. It probably won't be updated till Tuesday.
All right, bye. Well, we'll see you in a minute. I'm at a live stream to you already. All right, what's going on, chat? All right, so now we tuning back in, y'all. I had to get them talking to brothers real quick on some other shit. Now, hold on, let me pull up my other chats real quick. Let me make sure I got us locked in and loaded. This is post note tips right here.
People are not standing by your side in the smoke.
Hold on, chat. Let me get everything back right.
You scared the post.
You scared to shut the fuck up. All right, chat. All right, get back into it, right? So, that in case chat, we back live right now. Tapping in my. I do have Instagram too. Right. Bison, what's going on, Bison? Bison, the house on TikTok. What's going on, my brother? Hit that go live right there. All right, so last thing we just left off talking about was the dudes who broke out of prison. So let's go and see what's the new update on that real quick.
Night on May 16th, and you can see the inmates yanking on a jail door to break it open, and also some inmates walk by, some act like they don't see anything, others eventually come over and help that inmate in orange break it open. And it only took less than a minute and a half from the beginning of that inmate yanking that door to it eventually breaking open, and then the inmates being able to get in through that cell door. Obviously, when you're watching this, you might be asking yourself as well, where are the guards? And is anyone watching this video? I'll get to that in just a moment. But as this video continues on, as soon as the door breaks open, the inmates pile into one of the cells, and then out they go, through the back, as you see in the video here. The next piece of video may be hard to see here as well, but we'll zoom in on it. We'll show you. You can see some of the inmates running across a highway as they make their way away from the jail. Now, as to why it didn't seem like there were any guards that were watching any of this play out, what looked like in plain sight in the video when you watch it, well, the sheriff says the person who was responsible for watching the overnight feed of video stepped out to grab a bite to eat at the time that those inmates started their escape.
He had something to do with it. That is some bullshit. Oh, you want to go get some food and you know these niggas ain't breaking out. I mean, you know these niggas breaking out. He know them folks breaking out. See, but he was smart though. Let's see if they penalize him though.
It wasn't until 8:30 the next morning that authorities realized that 10 inmates were gone. Remember, what we just showed you of that escape, that was around midnight the night before. Now, this is what the authorities found in the jail cell. That toilet pulled back, pushed aside, leaving a big hole for the inmates to get out. And also, as you probably have seen by now, the inmates left some parting words for the sheriff and the deputies and the guards and everybody who ran that jail facility, like, quote, "Too easy, LOL," and also a smiley face with its tongue out and some more colorful language that we can't show you on air here. Now, it wasn't until later that day that the local sheriff posted this on her X account, letting the public know about the jail.
How he just gonna goddamn just post? How you gonna talk to police like that? That's crazy.
Break. The hours it took for authorities to let the public know that violent offenders were on the run, that has created a lot of anger in New Orleans, and a lot of people are criticizing the
It was discovered that the incarcerated individual were missing during a routine head count conducted at 8:30 a.m. A search for the individual is currently underway. OSPO is working on with local and state law enforcement. So it looked like they got out at nighttime. So them motherfuckers was free for some hours.
Sheriff. The sheriff also said that they're investigating their own staff to see if these inmates got any help from the inside. The sheriff's also blaming defective locks for the break. Here's part of what she said in this video per Fox News.
We're still gathering information. We are investigating our own to find out exactly what happened and where those lapses were. But there were supervisors on duty. There were lower level folks on duty, and they all had a job to do.
The authorities also say the inmates used blankets to get over the barbed wire on the outside fencing. Of the inmates that are left, 4
Them folks are watching Prison Break for real.
of them are charged with second-degree murder. Corey Boyd, Lenton Van Buren, Jermaine Donald, and Derek Groves. Groves killed 2 people on Mardi Gras in 2018. He also shot 2 others. He was convicted of that crime last year, and he was awaiting sentencing, which is...
Damn.
Generate meeting notes with AI that gets your business.
Which is why he was at the jail and not in a state DOC facility. WWL-TV reports that the families of his victims, they've gone into hiding, and they also say the authorities never contacted them about him escaping. Lenton Van Buren is another one of the murder suspects at large. He was arrested.
They can get a lawsuit for that, can they?
In 2021 for a murder. He's pleaded not guilty. Jermaine Donald is accused of second-degree murder, and Corey Boyd is charged with second-degree murder for allegedly shooting a man who tried to stop a car burglary, according to NOLA.com, in 2024. Not only are murder victims' families going into hiding, but also the local district attorney in New Orleans told local media that he has staff members leaving town with their families because some of the people who escaped are people who they prosecuted. There is plenty of blame likely to go around for how this could happen. But specifically, who should be blamed for this depends on who you ask in New Orleans right now. The sheriff is taking a lot of heat. There are calls for her to resign. She, though, says this jail has had problems that go beyond her job. She says the jail is only 60% of the staff that it needs. She also believes that the inmates may have had help from the inside. As far as why it, though, took so many hours for her agency to let the public know that these violent offenders were free, she claims they needed time to figure out what happened once they realized the inmates were gone, which again was several hours after the jailbreak. Louisiana's governor is putting a lot of the blame on those who are in charge of the jail, and that includes the sheriff. Here is part of what he said per Fox.
I've also ordered the Department of Corrections to audit the Orleans Parish Correctional Facility for compliance with basic jail guidelines.
Nowadays, after the inmates became fugitives, the reward is rising for people to come forward with information on the whereabouts of the remaining fugitives. Right now, the FBI is offering a $10,000 reward, and the ATF and Crime Stoppers are also offering rewards of $5,000. Another issue, according to the governor, is that several of the inmates were set to be transferred to a state prison to serve sentencing, but they were still being held in the jail facility, which is meant to be temporary. The governor said all DOC inmates at that facility are now being moved out. As for the fugitives who have been caught thus far, they are being taken to facilities away from New Orleans. The state police posted these pictures of Gary Price being taken to what they said was a, quote, secure state facility.
That's crazy.
Joining us now to talk about this is Justin Paperny, prison consultant. Thank you for taking the time to be with us here on Law and Crime. I guess since this story started, just what has shocked you the most when you see, especially that video of all of the inmates running out the back of the prison, or the jail, excuse me?
What shocks me is the terrible infrastructure within these prisons, and everyone knows that these things could happen. People talk about them, but there's no correction or change. Then what does not surprise me is the continuous blaming. You have the sheriff blaming somebody else, the governor blames somebody else. Without accountability and change, these things are going to continue to happen. These prisons and jails, they're broke down. The infrastructure is terrible. There are protocols that are not followed. And you have prisoners who will study the routines of guards, what time they go to work, how engaged are they, what time do they open the doors. And without proper protocols, you have people convicted of violence.
Hold on, chat. I don't know why my Twitch shit ain't popping up on my thing. My Twitch ain't popping up. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. We got some messages over here on Twitch. Got you. OG Lascar. Got you. OG, I'm about to follow you back right now, my brother. All right, back. Just followed you back, my brother. On Twitch. Got you, OG.
Violent crimes able to escape. Until there's accountability and change at the top, we can expect more of these escapes threatening communities across the country.
Damn.
Yeah, because, the headline video out of the gate was people running out the back of the prison, and that was but to me, watching the first inmate yank on a door, and it took him about a minute 30 to break it open, and then they're all able to go into that cell, which is apparently where the hole was, and then get out. And I'm watching that, on one hand, how flimsy of a door that was, it takes a minute 30 to do it, but then where are the guards? What do you make of some of the staffing?
Yeah, it's not the door. The door is the obvious blame, but the door could have been fixed a long time ago. What has not been fixed is this culture. So what happens is you have inside knowledge. So 16 years ago today, I was released from prison in a minimum security camp. Even in camps, dudes can walk off. They're not going to stop you. The difference is those are minimum security defendants. And for nonviolent crimes, in this case, these are, I read, murder, aggravated assault, very serious crimes. So what happened is there's inside knowledge. They are communicating together. They know the behavior and routines of staff. They wait for one mistake.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a
moment of laziness or nonchalantness or total disregard for their job, where they're going to seize this opportunity to escape, knowing they're going to have several hours. So they're studying for weeks and months, and then they seize that opportunity. And to have several hours go by without anybody knowing, if that doesn't tell you there was a terrible breakdown in protocols and structure and strategy, then we need to have another conversation. It was the inside knowledge that allowed this to happen.
That's crazy.
What surprised me too is that, these are some inmates that are, in one case, one of them is convicted of a double murder, but others are accused of murder, attempted murder. These are seriously violent people, and they're being held at a jail. Why not be held at a state facility?
Myriad reasons, right? They could be waiting to get transferred there. The jails could have convinced themselves they're able to secure them. Oftentimes people get misclassified. Sometimes people go to the wrong prison. Mistakes are made when protocols aren't followed. So you can expect all of these agencies to say the same thing. We saw the same thing in MDC in New York with Diddy and Sam Bankman-Fried after Epstein, hung himself. There's going to be changes. There's going to be accountability. We're going to make new policy. Instead, it is blaming and excusing. It's nobody's fault. And as a result of that, someone convicted of murder and other crimes, they're out in the community now hoping and wishing that through lockdowns, reconstructing timelines, hopefully they get tips from the community that they're going to find these people. The problem is the longer these people are away from prison and not caught, the more violent and scary they actually become, because they're truly in need of resources. So it is a tone at the top issue, whether it's a federal, state, or local prison. And until these changes, we'll be on in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months talking about an escape in these broken down, dilapidated prisons and jails. And the blaming and excusing will continue.
Yeah, I want to get into some of the blaming and who's to blame for that, because we've heard, to the sheriff, it may be reasons it happened, but then, you kind of hear it and it's excuses, especially when you think of how long it took them to actually realize that 10 inmates and some very violent people.
It's absurd.
We're missing. Another part is, and I know it's cliche in these conversations to bring up Shawshank Redemption, so forgive me, but you think of someone carving a hole in a wall in a jail, and it's done very quietly, very secretly. How do you think they were able to do this? I mean, how difficult would it be to actually create the type of hole that they did behind the toilet to then escape out the back?
So it's not hard if they know they have 2 to 3 hours a day to dig this hole. It's not hard if they know the exact routine and vulnerabilities of prison staff. It's not hard if they know the prisoner jail is understaffed. It's hard to get people to work there. People are underappreciated, underpaid, which can compel a staff member to go to a training to understand protocols, but they do not implement them. So in prison, I know because I was there, even though it was in a camp, you can study and learn the mannerisms of staff, guards, other prisoners, and you can create a routine around it. So it probably didn't take them. There was probably one leader that said, hey, there could be an opportunity here. Would you like to get involved? Sure, you're in for double murder. This is your only opportunity to see freedom again. Let's work together over the coming weeks and months until we get transferred to a higher security prison and take our opportunity. Then they team up, they partner, they study, they assess, and they chip away at it every single day. No different than Andy Dufresne did in Shawshank Redemption. And then it's like, we're ready. Let's party. Let's seize our opportunity. And they knew they had a window, and they're still free. They're doubling the reward from $5,000 to $10,000. Problems follow. They continue to be free. It is a total disaster and nightmare. And here's what I'm expecting at some point. Someone to say, it's my fault. This will never happen again. Until then, they're never going to fix the infrastructure. Staff is going to be undertrained. They're not going to follow protocol. And I pray and hope someone in the community isn't hurt as a result of this failed leadership at this jail.
Is it uncommon, because going back to the inmate who was yanking on the door, I mean, is it uncommon in that area for there not to be a guard? I know it was after lockdown at 10:30, but the lights were still on, and there didn't seem to be any authority figure whatsoever in the space where all these inmates were being kept.
It is not uncommon, right? Even in a penitentiary, people are going to go to bed, the lights are going to shut off, the cells are going to close. They knew exactly how much time they had to a T to make this hole in the wall. They knew when a guard would be walking by to do what's called a standing count. They knew exactly what was going to happen because they're studying the routines, the vulnerabilities, the tendencies of staff.
So you did the thing. Or maybe you're thinking about doing the thing. And now your brain...
Staff. So I can tell you down to a second, they knew how much time they had, and they were very calculated. And unfortunately for people in this community, they were successful.
And you kind of go into the sheriff. She's talked about, there was defective locks that were part of the problem, the staffing issues that, financially it would take millions of dollars to fix the doors. Why? And for as expensive as it is, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a headline issue like this jail in New Orleans up until these inmates were leaving. If it was such a big problem, why wasn't it something that the sheriff would have talked about maybe in a campaign or had made a key issue in local politics for New Orleans, knowing that they were holding some very violent people there?
So when the lock is the visible issue, that's what people are going to blame. The invisible issue is this culture and the blaming. So of course, if she claims that she brought attention to this lock, if she even did, you're going to have the prison say, we're broke. We have no money for infrastructure. We don't have money for staff. And of course, you'll have prison or unions who want to hire more staff, more security. So again, you're going to continue to hear this. It was a broken lock. I brought attention to it. It's just the obvious issue. The real problem is staff isn't trained, protocols aren't followed, and you continue to have people blame.
See, motherfucker want to blame shit, but nah, I ain't like you guys. Well, I know they did arrest the dude. One dude, damn, my bad, dog. Came up by saying they arrested one dude, for turning off the water and shit, man. Let them fuck it away.
Interesting, you talk about the millions of dollars that it would cost to fix these prisons and jails. Everyone appears to be concerned about public safety. What is the cost of one of these prisoners? They've only caught one, as I understand.
Fuck that. Let's go see.
Law enforcement across the area searched for the remaining 6 people who escaped from the Orleans.
But that being said, we already know one dude got caught in Trap House, other dude got caught downtown on Bourbon Street, and the other dude got caught not too far from him, right? So now you got Derrick Groves, Antoine Macy, Corey Boyd, Leo Tate, Linton Van Buren, and Jermaine. I thought they caught Jermaine. But anyway, let's hope that they update us on which one. Now, I ain't gonna lie. Let's play a little game. I feel like Derrick Groves is going to be the last one to get caught. And that's just by me just looking at their faces. He look like he kind of the smartest one. So let's see. I could be wrong.
Parish Jail Friday.
But I could be right.
Authorities say the Orleans Justice Center maintenance worker Sterling Williams helped them escape. Williams says one of the escapees, Antoine Massey.
Bro, this is the dude who helped them escape, right? Look at that boy bail, bro. The man bail is 1.1 million. I wonder how much they promised him for him to help them, bro.
Threatened to stab him if he didn't help. Now, a local provider of electronic monitors says that Massey should never have been placed in the general jail population to begin with.
Matt Dennis calls Massey an escape artist with a dangerous history, as Rob Masson reports.
When it comes to the arrest of Orleans jail maintenance worker Sterling Williams, Matt Dennis says he wasn't surprised.
And you're astonished that they keep this level of risk on the first floor of that jail.
Dennis, with ASAP Release Electronic Monitors, is talking about escapee Antoine Massey, who was accused in court documents of threatening to stab Williams prior to the jailbreak if Williams didn't cut off water to the toilet that was yanked out to provide an escape route for 10.
Hey, y'all, if a motherfucker threatened y'all in the same situation, would y'all have Randy go told after he let you go? Or would you cut it off with the water too? So what? Would y'all cut off the water? If y'all was in bro position, would y'all have cut off the water as well? Or would y'all have we go told?
And inmates.
There isn't an ounce of this man's history that doesn't escape.
Dennis says Massey, who's wanted for rape and kidnapping in St. Tammany, as well as domestic abuse and theft in Orleans Parish, had prior escapes dating back to 2007 and was no longer a candidate for one of the hundreds of electronic monitors placed on Orleans defendants.
He had no intention of wearing an ankle monitor. 2 hours. And he cut it off. And we had him in jail pretty quickly. We went and got him.
Massey was one of 10 inmates seen jumping off of a back prison loading dock Friday morning, caught on a camera that was not being monitored in real time.
For that footage that we've all now seen, where you have the 10 inmates running outside the facility, is there a door sensor there that would alert the command center that that door is now open? Some kind of alarm that goes off?
No, that is not an exit door.
As New Orleans City Council members investigate vulnerabilities in the prison security system, Matt Dennis is helping police in trying to locate escapees like Massey.
These escapes happen. NOPD and state police and U.S. Marshals went instantly into our offender management system and identified the individuals in there that had previously worn ankle monitors.
Damn.
And Matt Dennis says when someone cuts off an ankle monitor, he notifies the public immediately. It took more than 7 hours for the sheriff's office to realize the escape had occurred and notify the public after Friday's escape.
Oh.
I just got paid $60,000 for my car crash from using this app on my phone. And I don't know if you could see this, but it's called...
Okay, it counts.
Since 10 violent prisoners have escaped from a jail down in New Orleans, 6 still remain at large, 4 of which have been apprehended. Actually scratched that. Needed to jump in here and add something additional that took place after filming what I'm sharing with you right now. Folks, just yesterday, not only would it be Sterling Williams who was arrested, the jail worker, but a 5th fugitive would be captured, and who was the youngest of the group, 19-year-old Corey Boyd, originally incarcerated for a second-degree murder charge, was located in a residence less than 2 miles away from the facility in the 1400 block of Iberville Street. And with this 5th apprehension, it's really illustrating this theory that we had initially that all of the youngest of this group of 10 would be the first to be captured, leaving the 5 remaining fugitives the oldest of the bunch. I'll be sharing more with you about Corey Boyd and the remaining 5 fugitives as things continue to develop. It was just yesterday that we learned a jail maintenance worker, 33-year-old Sterling Williams, was arrested and charged for helping to orchestrate and carry out this escape. And had it not been for him, this escape may have never even happened. Not only has Sterling Williams been arrested, he's also been charged with 10 counts of principal to simple escape and 1 count of malfeasance in office. New Orleans fugitives, armed and dangerous, jail employee linked to escape arrested. One of the inmates threatened to stab the employee with a shank, a homemade knife, according to the employee's statement in an arrest warrant affidavit. I'm just going to go ahead and say what I imagine everybody is probably thinking at this point. Of course he would say that. I can't understand why this guy would help these 10 violent prisoners escape in the first place. Did he know them from the neighborhood? Did he feel some sort of compassion for them? Was he paid to do so? Because to be honest with you, I'm not buying the fact that he did this because they threatened him. It's been reported that authorities believe this was not help that he provided to these guys that was just done so in one day. This was potentially days long, if not weeks long, help that he provided to these would-be 10 escapees. There was an entire piece of rebar that had to be cut out. And there's a lot of speculation as to whether that was done from behind where the cell was or from the cell side once the toilet and sink was removed from the wall. Was it this jail maintenance worker, Sterling Williams, who cut that piece of rebar? Or was it the prisoners with some sort of makeshift tool? Regardless, the only person who would have been able to cut off the water so as to not flood the entire cell block and cell when that toilet and sink was removed from the wall would have been the jail maintenance worker. The prisoners would not have access to be able to cut off the water themselves. I'm just having a real hard time, though, understanding why this guy would provide help, knowing that all of this would lead right back to him. How naive do you have to be to think nobody's going to come looking at you for this? There had to be some sort of incentive because the threat of violence, it really ain't doing it for me. And if you were that scared, buddy, you shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. But now you don't have to worry about it, and now you're probably even more scared because now you're locked up in the same exact jail where you helped 10 prisoners escape from. There's got to be some major irony in all of that. And also, not to mention, I bet you this guy's not being housed on the first floor. I think that they probably have learned their lesson at this point. Like, you know what? Maybe we should keep certain prisoners on the upper floors of...
Here's how to never have to worry about money after a car accident.
How you go from working for them niggas to now owned by them niggas? Now you in jail. Like, In prison, then we went from being a worker to a prisoner. It's crazy, dog.
Worker arrested in connection to the New Orleans jail escape didn't just help 10 inmates break out. He unleashed armed and dangerous fugitives on the community and beyond by extensively colluding with them. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Merles acknowledged in a Fox News interview that people are on edge after the daring May 16 breakout. The jail employee Sterling Williams, 33, has been charged with multiple counts of being a principal to simple escape and malfeasance in office. Maybe potentially a little bit of an oxymoron right there, being charged with principal to simple escape. Because to be honest, this escape didn't seem all that simple to me. Williams admitted to investigators he complied with a demand from one of the inmates to shut off the water to the cell, allowing the escapees to rip out a toilet and sink unit and climb through a hole in the wall that created. The sheriff's office has said the inmates appeared to...
Fuck that.
Helping at this hour, Louisiana State Police recaptures a fifth escaped inmate from the Orleans Justice Center jail. 5 remain on the run. Here are the 5 remaining inmates on the run: Derek Groves, Antoine Massey, Lenton Van Buren, Jermaine Donald, and Leo Tate. The last arrest was Corey Boyd. He was captured Tuesday on Iberville Street. He was briefly spotted last Friday, just hours after that jailbreak, on a French Quarter surveillance camera. Boyd is accused of killing Brandon Fees during a car burglary in 2024. State police also posted pictures showing troopers transporting Corey Boyd to the State Police Air Support helicopter on the parking deck of the Superdome. Now, Boyd was fitted with what is called a spit hood. It's become a common practice during these state police transports. Troopers took Boyd to a correctional facility outside of New Orleans. The last 4 fugitives captured were transported to the Angola State Penitentiary. State police say more than 200 law enforcement officers are still working to catch the remaining 5 escapees. So also new today, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry appeared on Fox National News and says that the state corrections department is now conducting an audit of the Orleans jail to make sure proper procedures are in place to secure that facility. The governor says at this point he still believes the 5 remaining escapees are still in Louisiana.
You know, most of the intelligence that we receive says that they're certainly in the state, if not in the city. We put a $20,000 price on each one of them's head for anyone who will give us a tip that will lead to an arrest.
That's crazy, man. Well, they got new shit on Diddy, y'all. Let's see what they talking about.
I wonder if I should raise my prices.
A stripper known as the Punisher takes the stand in Sean Combs' sex trafficking trial, and he details how he became a key player in Combs and Cassie Ventura's baby oil-soaked freak-offs. I'll tell you what he saw, what he did, and why his relationship...
Hold on, I think the Breakfast Club actually got some new shit.
All right, so we are on week 2, day 8 of the Diddy trial, and so far this trial has been pretty wild. During the 7th day of trial, yesterday, the court heard from Cassie's mother, Regina, who claimed that Diddy had threatened her to release 2 explicit tapes of Cassie if Cassie's mother didn't pay.
Fuck all that. Fuck all that. I seen this one. I seen this. Let's get out to this.
So I'm trying to make it to court. Got to get out of here. But I did want to answer your question. So you asked me who was testifying today. So Dawn Hughes, she is a psychologist who has testified in a lot of high-profile cases. R. Kelly, Johnny Depp, and Harvey Weinstein. Diddy's team, of course, did not want her to be able to take the stand. But she is being allowed to take the stand, and she's going to, I guess, speak to the mental, like the thinking and the non-processing and the cognitive, like, he made this mistake knowingly or not, like those type of things that I guess she's seen from other cases.
How can she do that if she never spoke to Diddy?
They're going to make sure that her testimony is within a certain scope. So when they did that before, they did it with Dawn. They did that with Dawn, where like they were arguing her testimony shouldn't be able to be allowed because Cassie didn't speak to the domestic violence incident that Dawn alleges she saw. But the judge was like, well, we should allow it because it lends into, you know, how he was able to coerce or force or whatever, but only within a certain scope. to protect his rights.
I bet you that scope don't include. So if he takes another man's semen and rubs it on his nipples, what does that mean psychologically?
That's just what he liked to do to get off.
That's not how a therapist would respond.
I'm not
Lauren would be like, yeah, he was doing his big one. Therapist
Listen, that's how he get out. What am I going to do? That's his own business. Well, that was all of our business. But
that's why I don't think a therapist would respond like that. But I don't think that would be in the scope.
Yeah, I don't really know where they're going to go with her, but we'll see today. And then they're also they got to finish up with the special agent who raided Diddy's home. They talked yesterday about the special agent. And they found like the AR-15s and lube and baby oil and all these different things at Diddy's Miami home.
Oh, see, I want to hear more from them because everybody talks about. I saw somebody say the other day that Diddy was never under investigation. That is just not true. Like there was a whole federal investigation. They raided his house.
Yeah, there's a man named.
I remember the son made a song and was like, y'all raided the wrong house. Come back and try next door.
Yeah, that was dumb.
So dumb.
Homeland Security Investigations agent. His name is Gerard Gannon. He started testifying yesterday, and he's going to finish up today, detailing the March 2024 raid that they did on the Miami estate. He was a special agent in charge, and he said it was like 80 to 90 agents that were involved, and they found AR-15 rifles loaded with bullets, serial number scratched off. They found sex toys, Astroglide lubricant, and of course they showed photos to the jury of all of these things. And they said that they found the guns in Diddy's bedroom closet in Miami. So, and these were included in the federal indictment. So he's going to finish up and talk about some more things I'm assuming that they found. And then they're going to bring on George Kaplan, who is an employee that used to work for them, that used to work for Diddy, that alleges he quit after seeing some physical violence or physical abuse. And then Kid Cudi is on the list for today, but there's no way. Let me not say there's no way. They don't believe they'll get to Kid Cudi, and I was told that they probably won't get to Kid Cudi. That Kid Cudi will probably open up the testimonies on Thursday. So there's that. And they've been having a conversation, not in court, but I saw CNN did an article about Diddy's wealth, because as of right now, Forbes still has some valued at like $400 million. I
saw that actually. Yeah,
and Laura Coates, she did a really good breakdown about what happens to his money, because I think a lot of people have been trying to figure that out too. Like, does he still have the money? Does he not? And she had this expert on who talked about, because they didn't mention taking any of his money prior to and any of the search and seizures that they did, everything's up for grabs right now. But basically, it would depend on what they prove in court and how that money came in to support that, because the big thing that they're leaning on right now is this was an enterprise. It takes money to fund the enterprise. So I'm assuming that whatever they can prove money-wise went into this enterprise, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't understand. I watched that. I didn't understand it because I'm like, why would they be able to take his assets? Like, I didn't understand it.
And they also talked to David James, who's was one of Diddy's assistants for 2 years. They had him on the stand, and he talked about being told how to, when he would go buy things that, you know, were obviously not just for work, they would tell him, like baby oil, right, how to put it where it's not being listed as if Bad Boy was paying for it.
Ain't got no petty cash for Astroglide?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So it was personal.
Yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? He said he messed up because the first time he paid for it, and they were like, no, don't do it that way.
So he paid for it with the corporate card.
Yeah, so he had to do it a different way. And that same assistant is the one who gave more context to that Suge Knight situation. And he said that, you know, I think I talked about this with y'all yesterday. Yeah, he went into that. But they the defense tried to get the assistant out of here too. They brought up a time where I guess he got into it with one of the chefs that used to work for Chef Jordan, that guy that was working for Diddy. And it just sounded like, though, that he became almost like a product of the environment that he was in. And that's what they were pointing to, a lot of those things trying to discredit him. But in my opinion, it sounded like, okay, he was in this environment where all this crazy stuff was happening, and he just started doing what he was seeing. But he testified that he saw and he was overworked, and that he saw things that just didn't make sense, and that he had to run down on Suge Knight, or would have if Suge Knight would have actually been there.
I was thinking about that. If all of this stuff is true, Suge Knight ain't had nothing on Diddy.
What you mean?
You think so?
Suge Knight has always been known as the boogeyman of hip hop. But if all of this stuff is true, Suge ain't had nothing on Diddy.
Oh, you mean as far as the type of person they are?
Being a boogeyman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like bad boy for real. Let me ask you a question. Is this trial consuming you, Lauren?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Last weekend, that's why I went to the comedy show. Dress was great. I went to the comedy show. I tried to stay offline. Not even just the trial, but even the coverage of it, because things are starting to go viral. It's like so many more people's opinions and people calling me, and I'm just like, Like, oh my
Sometimes
God.
you just gotta release, just relax and
Yeah,
release.
Disconnect.
and you don't gotta.
That's what
answer the damn
I
phone.
didn't realize until this that I don't know how to disconnect. So last
Right.
weekend was my first time trying of like, okay, I'm just gonna hang with my family. I'm not gonna get on my phone. When I post, I got right off. I didn't look at notifications. Normally I engage in my comments. I'm not doing that no more. When I leave the court, I'm getting in my Uber and going home. Like, I don't need to run into no more.
You telling all your babes, so now you ain't gotta freaking try to juggle 3 or 4 of them at one time.
There's
That's
no
what
way
you
she
telling them?
can.
I'm sure Unc don't make it better, huh? Just messing up your babe.
I'm not juggling anything.
Okay.
I am,
Absolutely not. Now you
flowing
can.
effortlessly in one direction, and I'm good.
Yeah, because you threw Diddy into the mix. You don't got time to juggle nothing.
No.
Wow.
Just Diddy, everything.
No, but the people that support me are doing a really good job of making sure I disconnect and I get time off and, date nights and things like that. So
Date nights?
I'm good.
Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, now you head to court now, right?
Yes, I am.
All right, good luck. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Charlamagne Hale is it anyway.
Whoever made you think it was hard to eat healthy, nutritious meals has obviously never heard of Hungry Root. Here's what I ate today. My morning started with this yummy yogurt with blueberries and some fresh pineapple. It's less than 200 calories and packed with protein. I'm just obsessed that Hungry Root sends a variety.
Freddie P. accuses Diddy of grooming him? What they mean?
They real life perverts, and there's a lot of stuff with Danity Kane that went on. Man, you got to go to day 26. And when you think of it now, because everybody be like, "Oh, Diddy wasn't taking them serious." He was grooming us. It's kind of like you're signing boy band groups and girl band groups because you like one or two of them and you want to see who's gonna go. It's nothing to you but a tax write-off, but you're really searching for a butt the whole time. So he was looking for my butt, Chopper butt, everybody butt. It wasn't nothing about the music was like, yeah, I can, and it took off to be bigger than he ever expected it to be. But Puffy coming up, looking at it from the B5 guys, I think that's their name, he was just signing a lot of boys. Usher, it was something he figured out that R. Kelly figured out is we can get them away from the parents. If we could get them alone, isolated, then we can get them. Once you get in a butt, it's like you want us now. What you gonna say? I got video of me in your butt. Like, how can you ever make another record? You dig what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And a lot of people, because I know I could testify to this. Puffy is this type of person. Before you get to the next level, you're gonna have to do something. I could testify to that. And even though he never asked me to do nothing morally incorrect or against my morals, I could testify to that. That's how he play. You're not gonna get this unless I get that. Like, whether it's your money or business, whatever it is. So it's a part of his character, for sure. But I wouldn't say an idol, but man, all the money in the world and all you could think about is sex, free calls, people holding your secrets. Like, that's too much, bro. Like, why not get a wife, you know what I'm saying, and let her hold your secrets if you got a Tootsie Roll? Or, you know what I'm saying? People gotta be silenced once a girl go in the room with you, and once she figure out you a little guy, now her life is in danger. That's crazy. That's crazy. If she figure out you like guys, and mainly most of that come because you can't apply no pressure. You can't bust that shit up. You don't know what that shit feel like. You don't know what that shit feel like to have half your dick still hanging out. God forgive. So when he watch porn, he's fascinated with that pressure. You know what I'm saying? I just think he got a sex addiction or something. Cause you got too much money to be wasting it on. Sex. Like you get what I'm saying? Like, you could be anything, bro. You could be a philanthropist. You could be anything. You could invest in Tesla. You could be the biggest stock shareholder. You could have anything, man. Anything, right, man. And to see it go out like this, man, it's sad. But it's a lot of them, man. It's a lot of them.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of them.
I don't feel sorry for Diddy.
It's not only Puffy, man.
I believe him too. He said it's a lot of them. A lot of niggas silent right now. Usher, as we figure out one earlier. Neo's one. We figured out that earlier. That shit crazy, bro. But that considers us. That's been to a halt right quick. I'm gonna go smoke. So I'm gonna go smoke, big dog. So I'm gonna take me a break, man. Tune in next time, man, on the whole with the Diddy. With the Diddy with the news, man. With H. Kumar, man.